The Joe Monroe Show. Now, here's your host, Joe Monroe.
Hello, pro wrestling fans, family, and friends. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Joe Monroe Show, or should I say the No Sell Roundtable. I'm your host, Joe Monroe, and today, well, as you've seen in the little intro there for our Facebook viewers, we are going to be talking about none other than ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. This is one I have been excited for a while. Not just myself, I want to say not all my guests, a few of my guests at least. We all know of one who made a video earlier who's not that excited about ECW. But before we get into that, let me go ahead and we're going to shout out some sponsors real quick. First and foremost, big shout out to Triple Crown Wrestling, Ultimate Championship Wrestling, as they are bringing back the sport of professional wrestling back to the state of Kentucky as it should be. And don't forget, tomorrow night we will be back with pro wrestling action when UCW and TCW come back to the Aspire Center in Monticello, Kentucky, for great pro wrestling action. And we are celebrating Chucky's birthday. So if y'all remember me giving out tickets before the show begins. Chucky is the gentleman that sits right beside me, and he works his butt off. So whenever you get in, stop by, say happy birthday to Chuck, and we're going to have a great time tomorrow night. And speaking of tomorrow, check out our sponsors, Phenomenal Finds ATL at phenomenalfindsatl.com. If you are looking for anything retro, whether it be horror or professional wrestling, they may have it. And Charms Photos, Crystal, the lovely lady who takes photos of the wrestling action ringside and also takes our promo photos. Seriously, I'm surprised her camera still works after taking so many pictures of this ugly mug. Go check out her Facebook page, as well as Les Murphy Painting. If you're having any trouble with any painting needs, contact Les Murphy at 734-334-3702. And a huge shout out to Red Egg Graphics by Crander Q. As you know, he has been a guest on the show the past few weeks. He will not be here tonight, unfortunately. But Crander Q is the one who does our overlays and our graphics. And if you all need help with it, go check out Red Egg Graphics by Crander Q. He will give you a quote, and I am proud to say he will not disappoint. While we're waiting on a few folks to get in, hey, Odell, how you doing? Odell Stevenson's already here. Let's go ahead and let's enter our guest. First and foremost, everybody loves him. Everybody requested him to be back. He is the Ric Flair of podcasting, as I like to say. He is the man with the plan. He is the smartest guy in the room, and there's a reason that we call him Professor Bear. Professor, welcome back to the No Sell Round Table. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well. I always do well when I'm in here with Joe Monroe again. Man, what?
Yeah, it's always great to see you guys too, especially you, man. Like, believe it or not, I get so many side chats. Is Professor Bear going to be back on next week's episode from my fans? Believe it or not, so that's awesome.
I appreciate that, guys. I just be me, and I appreciate that love.
All right, but before we go ahead and get into our next thing, let me go ahead and get into our next thing. I apologize about that. First, someone who's been on the show before and is actually a professional wrestler. He is a guy who a lot of people hate, but he promised to behave since we are talking about one of his favorite things. Ladies and gentlemen, from UC, you may remember him from TCW and UCW, none other than James Kendrick. James, welcome back to the show. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing pretty good. Are you ready for tomorrow is my first question.
I'm going to crash the birthday party. What are you talking about?
You don't have to be a jerk. I know you promised not to be a jerk tonight. Just don't be a jerk tomorrow. It's Chucky's birthday, for crying out loud.
That's why I'm being. It's Chucky.
He works his... Never mind. I ain't getting to this conversation with you. All right. So our next guest, someone who you may know from Mayhem Media, man who reigns terror in the great UK, or I guess they're great. I don't know. Or Great Britain. There we go. That's how we say it. But he is great. He is a good friend of ours and a good friend of mine, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking none other than the one and only Connor Clarkson. Connor, how are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good, Joe. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's good. I can actually hear your audio a lot better. You say you got a new setup. Your focus frame is a lot better. We can actually see somewhat of your beard today. I'm kidding, buddy. But it's always good to see you, man. Always good to see you. It's actually coming in a lot better now. It's coming in a lot better.
Just need to fill out the sides a little bit more.
Just a little bit more. All right. And our next guest, oh God, I really don't want to. I don't want to say this next guy. He's been trashing ECW ever since I announced this show. You guys know who I'm talking about from Tel 5 Wrestling, the notorious ATB. Really? C.W. Anderson?
Oh, how's it going? That's an ECW legend. Anyways, I'm
Sure.
Notorious ATB, but tonight I'm not alone. I have brought someone from Kill 5 with me, his long-awaited debut. He is the best beard in the business, far better than Mickey up here with that orange thing he's got growing on his face. He's the non-essential stud muffin, an extreme enthusiast directly out of Dudleyville who rolls more than RVD every chance he gets. He is just tan credible.
He's muted.
And his mic.
How dare you
Hello.
mute? Just welcome, brother. Why did you mute his mic? Seriously?
That was me. That was an accident.
I thought it was
Sorry about that.
Mr. Notorious here.
First time, technical difficulties.
It's fine, brother. Welcome to your first episode of the No Cell Roundtable.
Thank you.
And
Good
your
to be here.
debut in podcasting. It's really good. I can't
Thank
wait for
you.
the first episode of Till 5 Wrestling. Man, do we have a great setup here tonight. I can't believe this. We got a lot of ECW fans, one, maybe a couple who is not. Well, definitely one who apparently likes to be acclaimed as a non-ECW fan. Oh, dear God. All right, let's see. Actually, before we get into something, folks, let me get into some of the chats here. Christina, hey, Christina, how are you doing? I hope to see you all tomorrow. It's all good. It's saying good evening, Professor. Chuck Carter this, and I think he's tagging people. So thank you, Odell. But gentlemen, this ain't gonna do. I'm sorry. This ain't gonna sit well. I gotta hang on. I gotta change. Something's not right here. I'm having some. If we're going to talk about ECW, we got to go extreme, right? We got to go extreme
Nice.
with the No Cell Roundtable.
Oh,
And I mean, should we change the hats? I would say I would change my hat, but my son just ran off with my ECW hat, so it's the camo hat tonight. I did have it on beforehand, but all right. So we're here to talk about ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. I'm afraid to say this next word because I'm already going to get criticized. That revolutionized professional wrestling in my mind. That helped. Basically, it was the grunge era of professional wrestling, if I can say that right. They were like grunge music to pro wrestling. I think that's a better way to say it.
Fitting, given how Kurt Cobain ended things.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Let's see. You know what, Aaron? I'll give you. Hang on. Let's see. You got 3 minutes to get out your gripes before we get into our questions.
First off, unlike you, 3 minutes isn't enough pleasure for me. So I'm going to do an ECW all evening, and I'm going to do it again next week and the week after. We got 4 weeks planned to this. I've got 4 weeks of bowel movements lined up for extremely crappy wrestling.
You know, keep going. Excuse me. I got to do something real quick. Go ahead and keep going your little rant. I'll be right back.
Go to your kid and get your hat back. Get rid of that camo thing that you're wearing. Good grief. He's probably going to go get drunk. Irish people. How loose is he? So James, you've not had the pleasure of dealing with me. Unfortunately.
I've dealt with people just like you all the time, so you're good.
Well, the difference is I'm the nicest, notorious person you'll ever meet. Unless you're an ECW guy, then I'm just going to assume you've got hepatitis and you're, a waste of space. Take a couple of Quaaludes, go hang out with the homies.
Not Irene. Folks, I want to go ahead and apologize. Our views and subjects that the Notorious One is saying does not reflect the views and subjects of the Joe Monroe Show or the No So Roundtable or any of our guests. This is
I would
just
also
all
like
him.
to say that it does not reflect Till 5 Wrestling. And last week, Aaron destroyed Little Guido autograph. So for that, I've decided to give this away. This is an FBI dual signed. And one of the commenters tonight will walk away with this autograph next week on the Tag Team Show.
Are you kidding? You're going to give that away?
Yes, sir.
the wall behind him. It ain't like he doesn't have enough in his ECW special
That's right.
time photos.
Well, you
He
know what?
can do-
In the words of Joey Styles. So that's nice of you. Seriously, man. That's nice.
That's
of you.
right. I'm gonna make up for it.
He can run down to a Target in West Virginia and get one from Shane Douglas.
I'm actually wearing a Shane Douglas shirt I got directly from Shane Douglas. So
Good job.
there. Watch the comment there. All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's get into the questions. Enough bantering here. He's starting to sound more like a bad version of Joel Gertner. But let's go ahead and get into it. I know this is a very hot topic, and Aaron actually helped me come up with this question. Was Paul Heyman taking over bad for ECW? We know before they were Extreme, they were Eastern Championship Wrestling, which made them basically a territorial wrestling company. Paul Heyman didn't like it. He wanted it to be its own thing. It's like the WCW and WWF at the time, and turn it into Extreme Championship Wrestling. And I think personally, Paul revolutionized the business after he took over, because you got to think a lot of at this time we were dealing with the cartoonish wrestling that people were getting sick of, the older demographic of fans. But then you hear ECW coming out of Philly, and it's like, oh my God, here's a promotion that we can relate to. This is like grunge wrestling here, and I personally think Paul Heyman taking over was best, except for the business aspect of it. I think if he had someone else running the finances, we would have ECW today. But that's just my take. Professor, we'll start with you.
I think that it was definitely good for the business because it gave something that a lot of people really didn't know or understand, that Paulie didn't invent Extreme. It was there. It was just on a smaller level, and people gravitated to it. It was a lot of young kids that didn't want like you said, the cookie cutter wrestling, the characters and everything. They wanted more of what they thought was a revolution, and he gave that to you. I, of course, love Paulie. Think that his business sense, as far as promotions and different things like that, is way off the chart. His finance sense is like mine. We wouldn't manage a bucket of crap if it was sitting there. We suck at it. But again, sometimes you need a great team around you to help facilitate where you're weak at. And that was Paulie's downfall with ECW. But to answer the question, yes, it was great for the business because it took it in a different manner that was needed at the time.
Okay. James.
Oh yeah, I agree. It was great for the business. Paulie, he made stars, not superstars, but stars. Like we wouldn't have Rey Mysterio if it wasn't for Paulie. Wouldn't have Psychosis, stuff like that. We wouldn't have had those if it wasn't Paulie asking Conan to bring them in. So I agree. Yeah, it was good. He just was terrible at money.
All right, Justin.
Yeah, definitely. Paul Heyman revolutionized the business a lot. Like everybody else said. A lot of reality TV was happening in the 90s around the time that ECW started kicking, and Paul Heyman was smart enough to capitalize with that, like with the Sandman storyline with his family, So definitely I think it was good for the business. In the long run, we're still chanting ECW at every show.
Absolutely. Connor Clarkson.
Right. ECW put We're good. Can you see me?
Yep, you good, mate.
Good. Right. Paul Heyman is the reason why ECW turned into ECW. That man was a realist. He managed to revolutionize what we know as extreme. And let's be honest, he was the person that knew how to piss off wrestling snowflakes better than anyone else. So, Paul Heyman, ECW, easy choice. Definitely on Mount Rushmore of promotions.
All right. Dare I ask, ATB.
Okay. Business wise, Paul Heyman bringing in the more extreme wrestling was very good. As a fan, I appreciate that he got some of the luchadors over the border, but I don't think that he's the one that I'm going to give credit to making them stars. When if it hadn't been for Eric Bischoff, they'd have been wrestling in bingo halls their whole career. I mean, what best case they would have ended up as the next Nova in ECW. So I get, yes, he revolutionized the business. The man was a horrible businessman. No one could trust him any further than they can throw him. And if you've ever seen him, that ain't real far. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, you can't throw me far either, especially. But I acknowledge that Heyman was important, but I also think that in the grand scheme of things, Heyman making wrestling more extreme hurt the workers. I'll put it that way. Because that is what brought in more of the chairs and the barbed wire and all that garbage into the United States. And there's a reason that IWA Mid-South doesn't have a television show. Because it doesn't belong on TV.
Well,
there are pros and cons to Heyman's effect on the career or on the business of professional wrestling. I acknowledge that. But I also say that it hurt a lot of the business men in it too.
May I retort just a tad?
As always.
In the long run, it helped the business because as they brought in the garbage of wrestling, as you put it, we wouldn't be, the wrestlers now wouldn't be in the positions they are. They're getting more taken care of. The chair shots are dumbed down tremendously. This is the closest to wrestling actually having some kind of union. They had to sacrifice for today's athletes to be where they are today. And a lot of people, again, I get it. A lot of people don't like that style of wrestling, and that's fine. But you have to look at, some people have to make sacrifices for the betterment of everyone. And I think Paulie did that. Unwilling or willing, we'll never really know the truth because, you know, everybody has their view on it. But I think it helped it because if we didn't have that period in time, where would wrestling be at?
That's a good question. Anybody else want to retort on that?
I'll retort on two things, right?
Go ahead, Connor.
So, if Heyman wasn't with ECW, we probably wouldn't have got Brock Lesnar Heyman, probably wouldn't have got Punk Heyman, probably wouldn't have got Brock Heyman 2. The storyline with Brock and Reigns probably would have never happened. We may not have a bloodline. Think of it that way, looking at the bigger picture of things. And for those who don't know how bad Paul Heyman was with finances, I'll sum it up in a very short way. He's about as great with finances as I am trying to walk in a fucking straight line. The man speaks the truth.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Was there a second part to that, or was it just the straight line?
That was the second part.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Does
there were 2 points there. There was the actual stuff and then the walking thing. I did. Did you have a little Irish whiskey before the show? Is that what's happened? Do we need to have that wholesale intervention?
Moving on. So those viewers who are watching, if you want to retort to any of the questions, go ahead, or to any of the views for each individual. We would love to have a comment. I will try to catch it in the comments section because I can see it. Especially this next question: who's your top 5 ECW superstars of all time? Top 5. Let's see. Professor, we'll start with you.
This is not in any order, just where my mind's thinking. Of course, RVD. You got to have Sabu, Taz. Tag teams count as 1 or 2.
We'll count as 1.
Okay. You got to have the Shane Douglas, and it's a tie between the Dudleys and the Gangsters.
Ooh, okay. That very good ties there. Which one of our episodes we will go over specifically ECW tag teams, that whole division, because I think that's way overlooked. James, top 5 ECW.
Dudley's, any variant of them. Shane, RVD. What was that? 3?
Yep.
Just Incredible and Steve Corino.
Oh, all right. Steve Corino. All right. Old school style is back. Okay, just 10. Credible. Go ahead.
Definitely Sabu, the Dudleys, Rob Van Dam, Mike Awesome, and Lance Storm.
Okay, I can see that. All right, Connor?
Right, what years of ECW are we talking?
Not the WWE CW.
So not the WWE CW, no?
No, not that crappy thing, but go ahead.
Right, so that counts out CM Punk. Okay, sweet.
Well, I'll allow it.
Oh, he's going to allow CM Punk. How kind. How kind. So, CM Punk, Sabu, Dudley Boys, Rhino, and RVD.
Okay, dear God. All right, ATV.
Well, first I'll give you my notorious answer. Let's do Sign Guy Dudley, Snot Dudley, Dances with Dudley, Ezekiel Jackson, and the Zombie. Now, legitimately, because I will be nice. I like you, Joe. You've been a big help to Till 5. So, legitimately, RVD has to be number 1. He has to. I'm going to say Jerry Lynn.
Oh, okay. That's a great one.
I will say the franchise, as he's the franchise. Mike Awesome, I'll agree on. And then Terry Funk.
Very good. Let me go to the comment section here and let's see what we got. People are saying RVD. Even Old School Extreme showed up. Dusty Rhodes and Terry Funk showed up. Even Scott Hall showed up. The One Night Stand showcased it all. That is 100% true. People are saying RVD. I will say RVD, of course. Raven, I would say. Because I think Raven was very instrumental, especially in the beginning. Sandman, I know he was a crappy wrestler, but dear God, one of the best entrances of all time. Plus that storyline he had with Tommy Dreamer, with him blinding him, and he actually stuck to it. Come on. You'd probably seen on the independent scene, but not many people nowadays will stick to a storyline like that. And I think he was, again, instrumental at the beginning of ECW. ATB is going to hate this. Taz. I think Taz is another one. And last and not certainly not least, Sabu, another guy. That's my top 5 right there.
You know, the one name that nobody said that actually should have been on at least one of our top 5s?
Go ahead, Professor.
Tommy Dreamer.
Mm.
And the reason I say that, Tommy gave more blood, sweat, and tears than anybody else you can name. Look, you get your ball sack legitimately busted. You didn't. Tommy fought against winning the title. He did not ever want to win any titles, and Heyman finally got him down to it where he would win the title. He won the title, but lost it that same night. He, like I said, with Tommy, and again, none of y'all guys are wrong with your picks or anything, but Raven and Tommy was going to be my wow, none of us said those names.
Well, here's looks like Odell Stevenson says Sandman and New Jack. Well, yeah, New Jack and the Mustafa definitely. Yep, I was disappointed when Taz showed up in WWE. Yeah, that was a big letdown. We may do a show on Taz because that was huge. All right,
That
next
would be a short one.
Shut up. All right, did ECW hurt or help professional wrestling? Did ECW hurt or help? You know what? I'm going to go ahead and let him go first, guys. ATB, I'll let you go first. Let's get it out of the way.
I've already said that. I think that it did both. But I can't help but roll my eyes every time I see New Jack, because if there's somebody I could erase from professional wrestling, he's on the top of that list.
There you go. There's New Jack again.
We can pack him up and Taz up and the Sandman, put them all on an island and just let them sit there and rot. Tell them we'll save one of them. I don't care.
What the heck? I'm not arguing with you, Connor.
So it helped and hurt it in a way. So here's the thing. It helped get more awareness about Extreme. And it did wonders for Paul Heyman. Let's be fucking honest. It did wonders for that man. Do you know what I mean? After ECW, he had an extra 20-year career on top of that. The man's been doing this for almost 40 years. But in terms of hurting pro wrestling, I think it was just more the fact of it hurt the pro wrestlers more because injuries were going up. Do we even have to explain the New Jack incident? The man almost died that night. I mean, it didn't exactly do wonders for Chris Benoit either.
All right, show off.
Nice.
All right, just 10.
I think ECW helped pro wrestling.
Okay.
I think it definitely changed the entire scene when they started doing the hardcore stuff and the big spots. But ECW was even more than that. They had the luchadors, they had the technical wrestling. And I think a lot of people just think of it as extreme, and it gets crapped on a lot more than it should because of that. And there's still ECW wrestlers, originals, working today. Crowds are still chanting ECW. There's 100 promotions that have popped up since 2001 to fill that void. So definitely ECW has helped pro wrestling in the long run.
Absolutely. All right, here's 2 men that I really want their take on it. James, you first.
Oh yeah, it's definitely helped the business, without a doubt. Grant, I'm not somewhat of a extreme wrestler, but if it calls for it, yeah, I'm going to do it. But I'm not going to be stupid with some of the guys because I'm not coked up or whatever. But yeah, I think it really helped the business.
I was fixing an example you could have used just for yourself was back in December with you and Brandon Wolf's match.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would be I think would be. I'm just using you as an example. That's a great example of it can be extreme, but not extreme.
I mean, granted, ECW didn't create the Extreme. At world class, they were doing it. Bruiser Brody, Abdullah. Paul Heyman just kind of brought it to a little bit of a bigger stage.
All right, Professor.
Definitely helped it. Again, it's going to sound like me repeating a lot of guys' answers, but again, ECW wasn't just Extreme. We wouldn't have had Chris Benoit. We wouldn't have had Dean Malenko. We wouldn't have the legendary Eddie Guerrero. We wouldn't have Jericho. We could go on and on. It was a mixture of all types of wrestling, and it gave back to the old school also, the Terry Funks, the Dusty Rhodes, and how they were willing to come in at their age, at that time, to help put over people. Because Lord knows Steve Corino wouldn't be crap if it wasn't for Dusty. And so, again, in the whole business sense of Extreme Championship Wrestling, of course it helped. Now, of course, we can look at some of the wrongdoings and stuff, but it also helped the business too. Realizing, look, you can't have a locker room full of coked up people. You got to learn how to take care of yourself and your finances to succeed. It's very easy to point fingers after something's over with and talk about how bad it was, but I mean, that like WCW, hell, oh, it sucked. They went out of business, blah, blah, blah. But again, look at the positive it brought to a company. And it's still felt today. Like ECW wrestlers are still, you got CW Anderson still going, still grinding. So, of course, I believe it helped the business.
All right.
Sorry, just to point on something Professor said about having a locker room full of coked up people. Have you not seen a recent AEW pay-per-view?
Oh my God.
Look, I will say this. I said a locker room full of coked up. Not everybody's coked. They got rid of Jeff. Ooh, did I say that out loud?
Oh, good night, Irene. All right, let's see.
Let's get rid of Tony Khan yet.
He's good with money, though.
I'll give Joe $1 if he can spell Dean's last name. What?
Do I get the dollar if I do it?
No, because I'm not going to see you do that.
I'll add it to the account I'm saving up to get new legs. It's ridiculous.
Forrest Gump here.
Which Dean are you talking about?
Malenko.
Oh, good night. All right, so I talk text, and
no, he's good. He's cheating on this.
No, I'm not. But to satisfy you, it's Malenko. The great Malenko, which is actually his uncle, I think, right? Or dad?
Uncle.
Okay. All right. But I would say yeah. But before I got sidetracked by the notorious one here, I would say it helped. I would say ECW helped the industry because you got to think ECW, not only with the luchadors, there's a spot for hardcore wrestling. I mean, we've seen it with, I want to say it, IWA Mid-South and CZW. Heck, even, go ahead, James, you're wearing their hat, Game Changer Wrestling today. You know, they're still providing that extreme or, death match style. But you got to also look at the fact it wasn't extreme to that point. It was also extreme with their matches, the storytelling within the matches. That's what the extreme part was meant for. I mean, yeah, you had Public Enemy beating the crap out of people at first. That's what kind of started that off. And, you know, Shane Douglas throwing down the NWA World Heavyweight Championship just to bottle rocket to the moon. Then it slowly came back thanks to finances. But I digress. I think ECW 100% helped, and I think without ECW, and I'm going to go back to the Luchadors, I don't think we would have had. I don't think they would have had as big of a following, because in WCW, I've said this at the WCW show. I think some of the Luchadors, towards the beginning and even towards the end, didn't get the credit that they deserved. They deserved a lot more credit that Paul was even giving them at the ECW arena, the little bingo hall that you like to make fun of there, the ATB.
It smells good.
And that's another thing about ECW that I love. It not only had that big promotion feel, but it also had the independent feel to it. And that's what I think a lot of people nowadays, especially in majority of the independent promotions, James, you can probably agree with me on this. They kind of have that spirit to it. That's what they try to live by. A lot of the guys, especially I know up in Indiana, there's a lot of the guys, Grindhouse, for crying out loud. I know they have it. TCW, UCW, they have it. Some of those guys, they're here to help out. We're here to, if we could put somebody through, well, not a table nowadays because doors are cheaper. If we want to put somebody through a door in a street fight, we're going to put somebody through a door. Or, you know, use Legos. Yeah, you're welcome, James.
There you go.
Or do we want to have a great storytelling match where the promoter screws over the babyface champion that's been the champion for over a year? Just examples like that, and run with it for months on end. That's what I think. That's why I think ECW helped, because it helped embody that spirit. I don't care how small we are. We're still going to provide the best wrestling product that we can provide, whether it's 10 people, 50 people, or 250 people. That's what I think is the spirit of ECW. Now, actually, we have a question from one of the fans. What is your favorite ECW storyline? Cameron, that is an excellent question. You know what? We'll start with Professor first.
Oh, wow. My personal one was Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Terry Bam Bam Gordy against the Eliminators. To this day, I love hearing Doc and Gordy, Doc and Gordy. I love that. It was such a great spirit of those four guys. And at the time, legitimately, who could beat Dr. Death and Bam Bam? They were just super over up until Bam Bam had his medical issues. But that match was just, like I said, every time I hear ECW, two things come to mind. That and Shane Douglas throwing down the NWA title. Them are my two things I immediately think of when I hear ECW.
James, favorite storyline?
Taz and Bam Bam Bigelow.
Oh, that's a good one. Yep.
Or just Taz versus the Triple Threat, period. You know, it's with Taz and Bam Bam, you know, they had what, 2-3 matches against each other. First time they go through the ring. Second time they go through the walkway. You know, it was physical. At that point in time, they didn't care. They were on the pay-per-view. They wanted to just go balls to the walls. So that's my favorite one.
Just incredible.
Definitely Tommy Dreamer and Raven's never-ending feud. Those guys were destined to do this forever. I mean, no guys in ECW matched up like that for a storyline that stretched as long as that one did. And I think that's definitely the answer for me.
Connor?
Paul Heyman just calling out WWE, JBL, Edge, Bischoff.
Okay. All right. Oh God, I hate to ask. ATV.
As much as I would like to claim Braden Walker, I, I will say my favorite ECW storyline is probably CM Punk and Shannon Moore's from WWE ECW, just because I thought it was funny. But I will say that Raven and Sandman's feud, yeah, that was pretty fun because the idea of a son caning his father was great.
Okay. Now here's someone that's saying Cameron said Taz and Sabu's got to be up there. I agree with that one. Taz and Sabu definitely has to be up there. And I'm happy you said Raven and Sandman because I think the 1, 2, 3 show's talking about that. I'm not remembering the names, but wasn't the storyline of Tommy Dreamer's wife being kidnapped or someone else? I'm a couple of beers in and slices of Tostina pizza in. But I think 1, 2, 3, 3, 4 show what you're probably recollecting is the Raven and Sandman because I'm pretty sure that happened if I'm not mistaken, right?
Actually, she went over with Raven.
Okay.
And when Tommy's girl, it wasn't his wife at the time, but yes, they did kidnap her. I do remember that one.
So that was Raven, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. God, what is up with Raven kidnapping people and turning? He's a freaking cult. I would say probably the best storyline. I got to go Taz and Shane Douglas. Those two had one heck of a feud, and I again that embodied the spirit of ECW. You know, they didn't do hardcore wrestling, even though some foreign objects were involved. They did more technical wrestling during their matches, and it was the main event. And that's the best thing. So I'm going to have to go Shane Douglas and Taz on that one. But let's see. And 1, 2, 3, 4 shows said, thank you for clearing that up. You're more than welcome. That's why we love having the professor on. He loves to. Oh, God. Yes.
I want to acknowledge one other rivalry storyline that was great. Mike Awesome and Tanaka.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Every time those two guys got in there, it was so much fun.
This is when chairs get involved. Oh, man. Actually, before we move on to the next question we have here on the slide, I can't believe no one mentioned this gentleman right here. I have a micro brawler of him. Chris Candido. Yes, Chris Candido, 100%. I know he bounced back and forth, but Candido with triple threat with him, Bam Bam, and Shane.
He peaked in WCW with the New Blood.
You're smoking grass. Okay, so let's speaking of smoking grass, let's go ahead and let's get the elephant out of the room. Should we really hate on WWE's ECW? Should we really hate on it? Let me go to the man that's probably going to defend this. Go ahead. I'm waiting on you.
We shouldn't hate on it because it was arguably more successful than the real ECW was as a company. I'm just talking pure business. It probably made more money under the WWE's ownership than it did before. So I'm not going to hate on it. I don't feel the need to hate on it because WWE bought the rights to it. If it was so great, then Paul Heyman shouldn't have sold it or ran it into the ground.
Connor?
Right. I watched more of the original ECW rather than the WWE CW version, but it did to an extent carry on the legacy of the original ECW.
Okay. I'll get back to you on that one in just a moment. Just incredible. Go ahead.
I think it definitely shouldn't be crapped on as much as it should. I know that we can all agree that some crappy moments came out of WWE ECW.
Some.
But It also gave a place for guys like Matt Hardy and Mark Henry to work more than just the crappy mid card, gave them a belt to fight for. So it definitely helped some guys get on TV.
Yeah, the Silver Phoenix. Yeah, they fought for that one. Okay, James Kendrick.
I think the WWE's version of ECW did as well as the first incarnation of the XFL. A flop.
And as to why, sir?
There were some good moments, but other than that, it didn't draw what it should have drawn. You didn't have the Dudleys. You had Sabu cutting promos, which he never cut promos. You had Big Show. No, I wouldn't have put that. Punk was good, but other than that, I was not a fan.
Okay, Professor.
It was a giant slap in the face for anybody that loved ECW. Even though I have to agree, that version of it made more money than the original, but do we really care? Because it wasn't about the money aspect, it was about the feeling. And Vince McMahon couldn't stand it, so he watered it down as much as he could, came up with stupid storylines, and just to rub it in the fans' face. Because if he was serious about it, he would have did what Shane told him to do, which was do it online and keep the real spirit of ECW alive. But, like they say, the winners tell history, and most of the time it's a lie. So, yes, it gave credible chances for people who may have not gotten chances, but we can say that about a lot of different things too. It just, as far as the spirit of ECW, it was, they could have took the WCW name and got more value out of WCW than they did with ECW, especially if you knew you really wasn't going to do the branding correctly. So,
All right, now time to do. Does anybody have any comments before I go full Paul Heyman shoot on this?
Go for it.
All right, so here we go. I agree to an extent that it did help a lot of superstars. They're fucking wrestlers. Sorry for my language. Bring in, such as Sheamus is a good example of that. Sheamus was started out on the WWE ECW. But as far as giving them a title, I would not want a silver-plated phoenix with the words ECW and frickin' fire symbols on the side of a frickin' side plate and call it the ECW title. No, absolutely not. I'll give them credit where credit's due. The first 6 to 8 months before the stupid ATB's favorite ECW pay-per-view.
Disappoint.
Thank you. December to disappoint. God, that was crappy. Before that happened, it was going okay, but it did not embody the spirit of ECW. ECW knew what its fan base wanted. That's another part of the ECW spirit. It knew, Paul Heyman knew what the fans were thinking and what they wanted. It wasn't Vince McMahon. Well, pal, I mean, we're going to do this because we're on the Sci-Fi Network. Okay, that's great. And you're going to bring someone dressed as fucking Nacho Libre and a zombie coming out here and just have Sandman caning the crap out of him. The only good thing about that, we get to see Sandman's entrance for 4 minutes and see him beat the crap out of these morons. That's it. That's the only thing great about that. But to me personally, I think Vince McMahon took a piss on the ECW legacy because to me personally, and Paul Heyman probably still thinks the same way, I don't think he really liked Paul that much. Same with how he embarrassed Bischoff when he was the general manager of Monday Night Raw. I mean, yeah, he said, I'd rather have the son of a bitch work for me than against me, but that doesn't mean he liked him. Same with Paul Heyman. He probably didn't want Paul Heyman working against him. Take Paul Heyman out of WWE and imagine if he went to somewhere like TNA or AEW and they said, Paul, we'll handle the finances. Please handle the stories. I guarantee you those ratings of those shows would go up. I mean, look what he did for Friday Night SmackDown when he was head writer at that time. And
he did a pretty good job at OVW too.
That is true. Him and working with Cornette. God.
No, Cornette had no say so.
After Cornette. They started off working together, but after he took over the book, yeah, he did great in OVW because we got Beth Phoenix out of that and a couple of others out of that OVW class too. But no, they absolutely took a giant part of my language. I know I got kids that watch this show, but part of my language, cover your ears, kids, took a giant piss on the ECW legacy. So much that if Netflix is like they're teasing with WCW coming back, well, maybe we can bring back ECW since it's a little more edgier. No, you can't. I'm sorry. That ship has sailed. If they would have kept it at ECW One Night Stand 2005, that would have been the perfect ending to ECW until today. That's just my opinion. Aaron, I know you're etching to retort, so go ahead.
Joe, you can save this and put it as your ringtone for me. Tanner, you should make sure to record this. I will say this one time. As a WCW fan, it lasted a whole lot longer than the WCW reboot did. Because the ECW fan base are probably the best wrestling fans there's ever been. That is why Vince decided to take that brand, tease you all with it, and then use his scat fetish to destroy it on national television in front of you all.
What the hell?
I have to agree with you. Sorry, I had to pull Joel Gertner in here some way, shape, or form in this show. But I'm surprised. I have to say I'm agreeing with you. He's actually being pretty nice today, guys. I'm shocked. But we
so, my stepdaughter did great while practicing driving, so I'm in a good mood.
Okay. With that being said, we talked about that. What was ECW's best year? What was the best year for ECW? Its peak year. I know we talked about that. With WCW. What was ECW's peak year? Do you guys think? ATB. I guess we'll start with you.
Whatever year Tito Santana won the belt.
Connor Clarkson.
Wow. Just give me a second because that comment's just thrown me. Whatever year it was that ECW launched their first official pay-per-view.
1996? 5?
Barry Eagle was 95. Didn't they have one then too? Didn't they have a real pay-per-view for it?
I believe you're right. It was probably 95 or 96, somewhere around in there. Professor, help us out here.
Actually, I was at a loss myself because I was thinking it was late.
I think it was 97.
Was it 97? Was it
Possibly.
that late?
Yeah. I want to say 96, 97, I want to say.
No,
Barry Eagle 97 was the first legitimate pay-per-view.
Okay. No, because
Yeah.
I remember 95 was supposed to be the original because Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit was supposed to be the original main event.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was 97. So, you're saying 97.
Yeah, I'm saying the 13th of April 1997.
That is the peak. Okay. Just 10 credible.
I'm going to say 1999.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, I know that Rey Mysterio and Eddie and Benoit and all those guys were already gone. But you had guys like Steve Corino. You had guys like Rhino. Lance Storm and Jerry Lynn were tearing it up. Rob Van Dam was in the middle of his never-ending television title run. It was a really hot time to be an ECW fan.
All right, James.
I have to agree with Justin or Justin. Yeah, that part of ECW just stands out to me. You had everything going on there.
Okay, Professor.
I have to agree with Connor. The first pay-per-view, I think when it was more underground and you had to search like channels would show it like 4 a.m. You had to tape trade to get it. That was it at its peak because it was still pure carnage that people didn't get but wanted. And I think when it started coming more and more mainstream, that's when it kicked the bucket. Everything started going downhill. Wrestlers were leaving left and right. Guys was poaching them, and Paulie was so under pressure with not paying people and trying to get deals. I remember when they first got their wrestling figures, I had every one of them. And that's when I noticed the quality went down because everybody was getting it.
Yep. I would have to agree with, I can't believe the words that are coming out of my mouth. I would have to agree with Connor and the Professor here. I would agree with the Professor any day. It's just Connor I don't hardly agree with.
Sorry, can someone just get him to say that again?
Okay, hang on.
No.
Hang on. I'll clip this for you. I agree with Connor Clarkson on this. I agree that the year 1997, when they were having their first pay-per-views, when they were shelling them out, going with what Professor said, still had that raw energy, that big ECW underground fan base with the tape
That
trading.
big ECW energy. Come on.
Jesus Christ.
And if we're on the subject of agreeing with people with the first time, the Irish aren't really that bad. They spoke the truth about Margaret Thatcher.
Wait, sorry. Margaret Thatcher doesn't matter to us aside for airheads when they start talking about her, so I don't know what to talk.
Oh, good night, Irene. All right, let's see what the fans say. Cameron is saying 1995, the amount of raw talent in the roster was great. Agreed. That's pretty good. And it looks like Curtis Jones is saying 1997. So it looks like 97 is the winner in this question. Yeah, all right. So majority rules, 1997. All right, next question. Aaron's going to tear this question up to bits. Would ECW thrive today, given how everything is with streaming? More people are watching Netflix, Max, Disney, whatever. They're watching more of that than they are actual satellite TV, cable, whatever you all have. Do you think it would thrive off that, since there's not really as much restriction on streaming services? Professor, we'll start with you, sir.
I think everybody's going to be super surprised at this answer, but no, it wouldn't. I don't think. And the reason being that you can have extreme points, but as you cannot have the original. No matter what you do, no matter how much you want to go back and recreate that moment, it's not going to happen. And with the way the talent was getting balled out and them trying to come up with new gimmicks to push that boundary, I think it would have really got to a point where someone would have died in that ring or something else terrible happen where they would just have to shut it down and nobody would really talk about it.
All right. James?
As far as ECW, no. But the companies that are out there, like Game Changer, back in early 2000s, mid 2000s, CZW, Ring of Honor, stuff like that, that still had the ECW feel to it. But as far as ECW doing it, no. Not a chance.
Just incredible.
Definitely not. ECW, the way it was, as controversial as it was in today's climate, would definitely not fly. You could get away with some of the extreme spots, of course, but I think in spirit, Paul Heyman caught ECW lightning in a bottle with ECW, and there's no way to do that again. Not the way it was.
All right. The Connor Clarkson.
So, would it survive today? No. Maybe if it got introduced onto Netflix, it may have a very slight chance. A very slight chance. But if you took the genre of extreme minus all the backstage guerrilla incidents and allegations and everything like that, and take that away from the promotion, then maybe it may have a chance. But it's very small. Just like Joe's beard.
I did trim it, so fair point. All right. The notorious one, ATB.
Connor, you have as much room to dog somebody's facial hair as I do. So let's not go there, okay?
I mean, I could drop something here, but
he's a regular fire crotch on his face, yeah, but so I think
you are just jealous because I have just one chin.
I have one chin, it's just a really big one. You're jealous because I have two working legs.
Look, as long as the third works, I don't care about the other two.
All right.
I can stand up and walk away.
So can I. I just
All
don't
right.
because I get paid money to sit down. It's
Boys.
So I think that what ECW would like to be today is GCW. I'm not a big GCW fan, but they have a good fan base. It is not horrible wrestling. They just have a lot of screw-ups, and I think that's what ECW would be today. If you could make sure that Paul Heyman had somebody to babysit. Because I think that what you would end up with, if you had Paul's businesses, is IWA Mid-South. If you had Paul and Todd Gordon running it together with Todd's money, you'd have CZW, which is also good, in my opinion. And if you wanted the drug use, you'd just watch the NWA.
Or AEW.
I would have to agree with you all. No, I don't think it would. You can lightning in the bottle. It's never going to happen twice in the same promotion. Hey, Professor, the Bear Stalker's here. Hey, Rusty, how you doing, buddy? Man, we gotta get Rusty's shirt out pretty soon.
Bear.
All right. So, last question. We've talked about it all night. What is ECW's legacy? And we will start off with the Professor again. Go ahead.
The legacy of ECW is it took wrestling that was already starting to boom and it gave it that necessary push to extreme everything. Look at the wrestling at the time. WWE Attitude Era, WCW, the NWO. Everybody picked up their game and became more hardcore from a little bingo hall that everybody hated on, had something smart to say. They stole pilferage and demolished Paul Heyman's dream. So one time in the world, the little guy won for just a minute. And that's what ECW's legacy to me will be.
James?
I'd have to agree with the professor on everything he said. It's there wouldn't have been an Attitude Era, or WCW wouldn't have picked up with the NWO if it wasn't for ECW. So, I mean, like everything that Professor said, I totally agree with it.
Mr. Tan Credible?
Well, I hate to agree also, but definitely what Professor Baron James said is absolutely correct. I mean, Paul Heyman and ECW introduced such a vast range of styles to a wider audience that you still see remnants of today. Without ECW, there would be no Attitude Era. There would be no Stone Cold Steve Austin. There would be no AEW, really. There would be no Game Changer Wrestling. I mean, it definitely started a butterfly effect that altered pro wrestling forever.
All right. Connor?
It gave us the salad. Wait, what the hell was that word? I can't speak my own language. Joe. Sure.
Sound it out.
I was gonna do a podcast, but then I got high. Yeah.
You never know what will happen on a live show. Okay, Connor, focus, buddy. It's okay.
Take two. Action. Right.
Calm down, Sid Vicious.
Aaron, you're not helping.
All right, Connor, just pretend that you're waiting in line for the therapist to work on your legs in your lap.
Okay, Connor, come on, buddy. Think about it. What's the
Take four.
legacy of
Right.
ECW?
It didn't give us that concrete slab that is so solid that is now the genre of extreme. It shaped what we know as the modern version of Paul Heyman. It shaped legends, not just superstars, legends. And it changed the wrestling industry till the end of time.
All right. Oh, God. All right, go ahead.
I can speak my language sometimes.
I would love to say that the legacy of ECW is the fan base that can sit here while I have crapped all over it and made fun of it. That is the legacy of ECW. Unfortunately, if I can be notorious for a moment, the legacy of ECW is blood and violence and being extreme. And all it did was rip off the NWA from the 80s and their violence. So while ECW has been very integral in the evolution of wrestling, I don't see it as being the revolution that so many do. I will say that the legacy should be their fans, but not enough people will listen to fans. They just want to look at, oh, well, it's that extreme company. It's stupid. It's really not. It's not all blood and guts, but that the legacy is the blood and guts because not enough people will listen to people like Tanner who are willing to make a playlist of ECW matches for a friend who never really got into it. So.
And Tan, good on you for making those playlists. All right. I would have...
James, do not give Paul Heyman credit for the NWA. Don't do that to me.
Don't what?
Don't do that to me. I give him no credit for the NWA. Not happening.
I would have to say ECW's legacy is having one of the strongest fan bases, for it to be one of those mom and pop shop promotions that grew into something that I would still say revolutionized the business. Because I think it did. In a way, it revolutionized professional wrestling. Because to go what Professor Bear and everybody else except for ATB, which who gives a crap about him, said is you wouldn't have promotions like Ring of Honor. You wouldn't have promotions like Game Changer. You wouldn't have promotions like CZW. Dare I say you wouldn't have promotions like IWA Mid-South. I know that's a bad example, but let's be honest. They had a little bit of a following in the late 90s, early 2000s. But though the connection with the fans is what I look at with ECW, because it was very few and far between. It's something that every wrestling promotion strives to have, but has a hard time getting. I will quote Bubba Ray Dudley on this. What did Napster do for the music company? It revolutionized it. What happened to Napster? It went out of business. When ECW started, what happened? It revolutionized pro wrestling. What happened to ECW? It went out of business. ECW is the Napster of professional wrestling. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that's a great thing. But that's just me. Let's see what the fans are saying. 1, 2, 3, 4 show. I see your comment. I'll go ahead and get you first. We were talking about what is the legacy of ECW. So if you want to comment while I look over some of the other questions, we'll still look here. Looks like Rusty has commented, guys wrestled to entertain. They didn't know if they were getting paid. According to RVD, Heyman still owes them $2,300 club names, ECW Arena, and still to this day. But there's also people who have been getting paid, so it's one of those dang if you do, dang if you don't. Looks like a couple people have questions here. Kinsey has put, have you all ever met any of your favorite wrestlers? You know what? Yes, I have. I have met, the guy, first one, Shane Douglas. I met him a few years ago, right before I started wrestling. He gave me some great pointers of basically don't do stupid crap. That was his main subject. Talked to me for about 30 minutes. He didn't have to. But I was just a guy in line just talking to him and wanted to pick his brain, and he happily obliged. Professor.
I've met a couple of them, yeah. What's that old saying? You never want to meet your heroes.
Yeah.
The time I got to meet Dusty was such a heartbreaking moment for me. And I think I even mentioned it before, where I'm standing in line and he blew me off, and his manager saw the look on my face and quickly got Dusty's attention to talk to me. At that time, the magic was ruined, but after a while, I realized, wrestlers are human too, and I get it. But even with that experience, Dusty's still in my top 5 wrestlers of all time.
James, for you, I'll say, have you ever? I'll ask that question within a question. Have you ever worked your favorite wrestler before? Yet?
Not yet. Well, granted, it probably will never happen because he's retired and will never get back in the ring again, and that's Arn Anderson. But as far as like meeting heroes, yeah, I've met a couple of them. It's like what the Professor said: you never want to meet your heroes. Sometimes it's a good experience, and sometimes it's a very crappy experience. I've met Ted DiBiase a couple times. Good experiences and some bad experiences. So
Mr. Justin.
I have not met any of my favorites or my heroes, but I have met the nicest wrestler I'd say I've met is probably Buff Bagwell. He was really, really, really cool when I met him. Talked for about 30 minutes.
That's cool. Connor Clarkson.
You know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say.
I know. Go ahead and say it.
he just met me, so he's good.
No.
It's-
Sorry, but no.
I know what he's going to say. Go ahead. Say it.
Let's see whether you actually do. Now, have I met my favorite wrestler? Short answer, yes. Every time I look in the mirror.
Yourself. Okay, moving on. ATB. Believe it or not, a lot of people you know a lot of people that were in the business.
I've met my favorite, which is Punk. We all know Punk is my favorite. I've got several Punk things on my wall. I've had lunch with Popper, one of the nicest people that I've ever known in the business. Blair was a sweetheart. I really haven't met Hogan, but I'm not really a Hogan fan nowadays. I was at a point in life. I will say this: when I met him, Buff Bagwell has always been really cool to me too. And look, I liked him when he was Marcus Alexander Bagwell, and I couldn't say his name because I was so little. So yeah, I've met most of my favorites, my heroes. Yeah, Cody. I love Cody Rhodes is a saint as far as I'm concerned. After meeting him, especially because he wanted to come up and apologize for flipping me off during his match. So yeah, I'll put over Cody every day of the week. And Nigel McGuinness.
Yeah.
I love Nigel. If you've ever seen his documentary, when he's talking about what really matters to the people he met, there's actually a picture of my dad with a autographed Nigel McGuinness 8x10. And that meant the world to me because my dad passed away about 2 months before the documentary came out. And I've had the pleasure of meeting Nigel. I've got him in my phone. We still text occasionally. I love Nigel.
That's great.
I've actually got a serious answer.
All right, I'll let you revamp your answer.
So, forget the fact that I look at myself all day in the mirror, right?
Yep, that's
We
great.
all know I'm my own favorite. But in terms of well-known people, and rest in peace to this dude, Bray Wyatt.
Okay. Great. We got another important question here that Cameron asked. Do you think matches are the least exciting part of a good wrestling show? If so, should they be? Wow. Okay. You got at least 3 to 4 people who are actually in or have been in the wrestling business. Let me go ahead and we'll start with the first one. It's been 10 plus years since he's been in the biz, but ATB?
I was on the production end of it, yes, and the matches have to be the most important part of the show. If they weren't the most important part of the show, you should be watching a soap opera on daytime television.
Right. Connor, a wrestler yourself.
Without the matches, there is little to practically no story. Like, as a wrestler myself, and James, I'm pretty sure you will agree with me. We tell stories with our words in the art of a promo, but we actually tell the majority of the story with our bodies when we're in the squared circle. Yep. James, I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me on that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the thing to kick the storytelling off with the matches is the commentary.
Exactly.
You don't have the commentary if someone's watching it on YouTube or whatever. You can't really. You don't have the backstory, but the matches are the most important.
Right.
And here's
just-
the thing.
Oh, go
Here's
ahead,
the thing.
Connor. Sorry.
If like it's all good having the matches and the commentary, but if we're gonna tell a story with our bodies, we need the crowd involved. Like they'll be able to tell whether it's a good line or a really shit line, just by the way they respond to the match, to the commentary, to the promos. The crowd practically control the storyline.
Right. All right. Just 10.
Well, we're all professional wrestling fans, not professional promo fans. So I think that definitely the wrestling is the most important part of a wrestling show. And I think good promos can build to great matches. You know, good crowd energy can build to great matches. But everything in pro wrestling is set up to eventually lead to a payoff, which is the match.
Right. All right. Last but not least, Professor, go ahead and hit us with your wisdom, sir.
Simple as this. If it's not about the wrestling, then what the hell are we watching it for?
Exactly. So, yes, the wrestling is definitely the most important part. This is why I urge people, because a lot of people focus on like TV wrestling, as I like to say. Go to an independent wrestling show, then get back with me on that question. That's all I'm going to say.
If you go to the lot independent shows in Kentucky, they'll do the commentary while you're wrestling on a microphone over the loudspeaker.
I will throw my boot at him.
And he'll do it too. I've seen him do it.
There will never be any live commentary on a microphone when I'm in the ring. No.
You know what he's talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know what he's talking about.
Go ahead now.
If I'm a babyface and I hear live commentary, I will go straight heel and start shooting on people. No.
And I cannot blame you, because that is so much of disrespect to the wrestlers for what y'all put your bodies on the line. It's disrespectful for the fans, because we pay to see you wrestle. If we want commentary, we'll get it off of YouTube, or if you TV, that's where you get it. But again, the main point of any of this is wrestling. So I definitely can understand. And personally, if I'm ever at a match and somebody piss you off, just point them out to me. Keep doing your thing. I can deal with that.
And
You
just
can
to go back to promos.
Oh, good night, Irene. Let's see. CZ, the Wizards in the house, said lots of major talent cut their teeth in ECW. It's definitely has its place in wrestling history. Yes. 1234 show says, bro, I understand people risking injury for the business. I think ECW made the business we have now. All prominent promotions at the time brought the style in. Plus, Paul E, in my opinion, sold out way before ECW was dead. Tommy Dreamer literally was going to kill Paul at WrestleMania. What if that happened on live TV? Well, I mean,
Chris, I would say the only thing you have to say is Chris Benoit, and that'd be it.
let's see if we got any more questions here. People are talking about 1234 show said Stacy Keebler, Medusa, Trish Stratus, and Lita also ones he's met. CZ said Buff Bagwell was a class act and a real nice guy. He 1234 show says my favorite. Give me a hair. ECW allow people bring things to play with. Yes, actually, they had fans bring their own stuff, which I think does CZW still do that? They still do that. Fans bring their own weapons.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, I know H2O Wrestling. I think they're out of Jersey, right?
Yes.
Yes, I think they still do that. Matt Tremont, right? That's his
Yes.
promotion.
Matt Tremont runs H2O.
Okay, there another promotion. EC frickin' W. Yes, give me a chair. That's what he meant. His mom too. And CZ's shouting out support independent wrestling, support independent wrestlers. Speaking of supporting independent wrestlers, you can see myself and Mr. James Kendrick tomorrow night in Monticello, Kentucky. When we come back to the Aspire Center, it's going to be a great time. I wish all of you could make it because I personally think, and yeah, I'm being a little bit biased. I think UCW and TCW does put on some of the best shows in the state. We stay consistent, and even our viewers, not viewers, but I think our fans have attendance has come up a lot. And James, you can probably testify to that.
Yeah, they're welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No need to get a big head now. Stop.
I was Facebook creeping. Did James wrestle Donovan Dijak recently?
I will be wrestling Donovan Dijak in November.
Yep.
Where?
New Albany, Indiana.
Color me intrigued.
Yeah, he's trying to get me up there too, to do commentating.
I mean,
bullpen wrestling, correct?
Yes.
Bullpen wrestling. That's a new promotion that's starting up there.
Yep.
What day?
November 2nd. It's a Saturday. It'd be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
You know whose birthday is November 3rd?
Yours?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, it is.
What have we done?
Maybe I'll have to make the wife take a road trip to New Orleans.
I mean, maybe even I'd get on a plane. Who knows?
6 and 8. You going to be in the States here pretty soon, sir?
Hopefully, if they can just sort out my freaking passport.
Well, I think that Joe Monroe was making calls to the NSA so they wouldn't let you get a passport because he's afraid you'll come over here and kick him in the ass.
No, he can kick.
He'll pick up his leg and slap you with.
He has one. He has one leg still.
Oh, okay.
They're going, they just use it.
James, Rusty is saying find his retribution mask and wear it.
They actually burned it. They actually burned the T-bar mask on national TV.
Thank God.
So just get a Jason mask and claim that you're whichever goofy on that one.
I almost called him T-bar in my promo, but I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But
listen, that's a douche move even for you.
It's not your fault that the peak of his career was putting over Keith Lee.
Oh, good night, Irene.
But now he's starting to kill it on the indies again.
Look, I remember the first time I saw Dijak in ROH, and I was like, this guy's good, but there's just something really weird about the way, like there is something about the way Dijak looks that doesn't work for me. Like his head is too small for his body.
Well, and there is going to be a height difference because, he's like 6'7" and I'm like 5'9", 5'10". So
he's going to headbutt his nipple.
Yeah.
Well, there's a T-shirt. People headbutt his nipple. Okay.
Don't tempt me. I'll make that T-shirt.
I used to wrestle with my dad when I was a kid, and he was substantially bigger than me. I always won with this move that I referred to as the Arkansas nose pull. I get on his back, plant my knee into his back, hook his nostrils, and just pull it back like a camel clutch. Do that to him. Dijak nose, you'll win in no time. There you go.
What'd you call that move again? The Arkansas what?
The Arkansas nose pull. It has been used in one match before by Loverboy Brock Landers at Oak Grove Kindergarten. I was there, and since I went to Oak Grove Elementary, I went to Oak Grove for kindergarten. I thought it was great to see it happen in person. So, yeah. James, it can be done. You can win. You can take down T-bar by a nose. You can win by a nose hair.
All right. Well, so a few announcements before we get off here. By the way, I owe you a ticket to Deadpool and Wolverine ATV because this was the highest live streaming audience. Apparently, you crapping on everything. People want to watch it, so I guess I got to have you back on.
Yeah.
But with that being said, just 10 or Tan. I won't call you Tan. Forget it. When are you going to plan on doing the giveaway next week?
So next week, everyone that commented on the video this week live will be put into a wheel that I'll spin live on the show next week to determine who gets the autograph.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll definitely.
Are you capable of figuring that out on your own, or do I need to teach Cheyenne or your girlfriend so she can show you how to do it?
Oh,
I got it. It's under control. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Could you lean up here for a second, Sam?
What's going on?
I was just wondering if I could see all the brown on your nose from where you're shoving it up Joe's ass.
Okay, so if you want to quit Till 5 Wrestling and join the Joe Monroe Show umbrella, let me know, man. I'll give you your own show.
There with Joe Monroe, and y'all can have your own podcast.
I mean, if this is happening, then I'll just take Aaron to Mayhem Media.
Oh.
I don't know. That won't work out because he's a big CM Punk fan, and we all know how JD is.
And we know how JD's profitable. And I've got one of those right here. See?
Oh, good night, Irene. So we got one last question from the 1, 2, 3, 4 show. What killed ECW? I'm going to say Paul Heyman's inability to handle finance. That's what killed ECW. We'll go down the line. Professor, go ahead.
Paulie.
James?
Paulie.
Tan?
Lack of funds and Paulie.
Connor?
Sorry, was that a British accent?
No.
Probably do you want to go down to the boozer? We'll have a pint of jar, yeah? We'll have a pint of Guinness.
You pint of Guinness
you do
does
the
sound
British
pretty
accent,
good.
I'll do the Irish accent motion.
Pint of Guinness actually sounds good, but go ahead. What killed ECW?
Paul, lack of knowledge of finances, stupidity, and a bankruptcy court in 2001.
Dear God. All right, so that's the answers for those questions, folks. I'm kidding. ATV, go ahead.
You want to know what killed ECW? Ezekiel Jackson killed ECW.
I have to say that's probably the best answer.
That's a good answer.
Wait a minute, hold it, stop. You're not about to sit here and Ezekiel was the man. So I can't allow that.
Well, he wasn't too on core with that.
Ezekiel was the man. Look,
Ezekiel was the man.
Ezekiel had like 3 peaks of his career. He became part of an Apple Corps. He won a third-rate company's remade Silver Phoenix garbage belt, and then he ran out as backup for Dixie Carter with Smith.
Well, see, you're forgetting history, my friend. He was an Intercontinental Champion.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
Okay. That's more than some people has ever gotten that company.
Do what?
That was part of his Apple Corps days with Wade Barrett, Justin Gabriel, and Heath Slater.
No, he left them.
Yeah, he left and then won the title.
Yeah.
No, see, he's so forgettable. I forgot that he left them to win the belt. Crap on stuff you like too. It's okay. I love you, but as an associate professor at Learning Tree University, I'll crap on anything I take a notion.
Learning Tree what? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. All right. Mayhem Media is saying CM Punk killed ECW. LOL. JK. All right.
Last breath of real ECW talent in there.
You would not crap on Shelton Benjamin.
I don't consider Shelton to be part of ECW. Like, I never acknowledged that part of his career.
You don't acknowledge the gold standard part of his career.
No, because okay, if I can be serious, WWE was trash. After CM Punk won the title, it became completely useless because he won it on television when he should have won it on pay-per-view weeks before. Like, WWE's version of ECW was garbage, and I know that.
Okay. Hold up. Somebody wants to retort on that. 1234 show said, hold up. Shelton got a shitty hand, but he played it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, Shelton got a paycheck every day of the week.
He
So,
probably still does. What are you talking about?
yeah.
Shelton Benjamin, I think, is one of the most underrated professional wrestlers there is. That's just me.
Between him and Arn Anderson, there should have been world title reigns with both gentlemen.
Agreed. But yeah, the gold standard, it wasn't really his peak, but he ran with it.
He was standard on a bronze show.
Hey, we the people, remember Jack Swagger, okay? All right.
Hey, what happened to that FTW title that was in ECW?
Oh God, no, don't, no, please don't.
The world title.
Stop.
And that's honestly probably the most prestigious it's ever been.
All right, hang on, damn it. No, time out. No, time out. Hang on. No. All right. He's just doing this to piss me off. No. All right. So look at it this way. The FTW title. I know you hate Taz. I know you hate. I can mute you and remove you out of this conversation. But I know you hate Taz with the passion.
Hi, baby Jones.
There we go. So Taz back in the day. Yeah, back at you, pal. Taz back in the day was not a man to be messed with. He said, the heck with the world title, I'm making my own title. He made the FTW title, which the original version, which was the Winged Eagle version that he took off the television title, was the best. That's the best version. Not this one we have right now. And I think its peak with the FTW title was in ECW, not being passed around like a freaking hot potato in AEW. That's the whole point of the FTW title. And I will unmute you so you can retort.
It's not been passed around like a hot potato.
Ah, bullshit.
Look, you became more prestigious than it
language on the show, yeah.
It had Jack Perry.
Oh, woohoo! Jack Perry, let's go. Who cares?
Jack Perry.
Are you going to mention the learning tree too, Chris Jericho?
Hey, look, he's been the FTW for the world champion for like 100+ days, and it's been glorious.
Yeah, how did his undisputed title run go? Oh, wait, it's kind of forgettable now. I hate to say it. I know he was the first, but people tend to forget unless he's speaking.
Okay, so how did RVD's undisputed title run go? Oh, wait. How did Tommy? Oh, wait. How did? Oh, wait. Name another guy from ECW that had an undisputed title run.
Okay, fair point there. But if you want to talk about forgetfulness, I hate to say it, people are kind of forgetting about it now. They remember Triple H more having it. And after it was molded into the
the guy who runs the company that was the belt for now is more acknowledged as being a holder than the guy who worked for the competition. It's not like they could make it more about him. And who was it that actually got an undisputed title instead of having to walk around with two old belts? Oh, yeah, Triple H again. Huh. It's almost like he's a nepotism, baby.
Good night, Irene.
But
I'm just not the big. I used to be the biggest Chris Jericho fan. Now I can't freaking stand him. I'm sorry. I can't stand Jericho at all. As I'm going to quote someone when we went to the memorial show in Lexington for the Jay Briscoe Memorial. Chris, what are you doing? You're getting too old to do this crap. Let Sammy do this crap for you. Oh, thank God he tagged in Sammy.
right.
I wish I could find that guy. That way we can bring him to every independent show. That guy was freaking hilarious. All right, Connor, I'm sorry. Go ahead, buddy.
Joe, I don't normally agree with you, and Aaron, you might want to turn your camera on for this.
Oh, good night, Irene.
Okay, that is class, but besides the point. You're talking about Triple H, yeah?
Yeah.
The game. The man that you so highly put on a pedestal.
I mean, I don't put him high on a pedestal. I put him higher than Chris Jericho.
No, Aaron's putting him on a pedestal. You're putting him on the bottom of your shoe by the sounds of this.
No. What was in that?
Anyway.
What was in that magical cigarette that you smoked before the show?
Don't worry about that. You said I'm coming on an ECW episode. I want to do this in ECW fashion, like I did with the Ric Flair episode. Anyway, going back to the point. You're putting Triple H highly on a pedestal, yes? Aaron,
Then Jericho, yeah.
I don't think that he deserves the spot that he has based on his abilities. I think that he slept his way to the top.
He played the game and he won it.
Exactly. There we go. Good answer.
Yes. But do I think that he deserves his spot based on his wrestling ability? No, I don't.
No, because he did what all of us dream, shagging Stephanie.
Well, I was going to say, we could sit here all night and talk about who didn't deserve their spot for one reason or another. But the fact is, Jericho will always be the first. Will he be probably the closest one of sucking on that list? To me, yeah. But it doesn't matter. When you make history, unless you become the top dog and can shape history how you want, there's no denying the fact. Jericho was the first. He's the learning tree. He gets on my nerves, but I have to admit this learning tree gimmick has gotten over because you can give Jericho anything, and Jericho will make you like it or hate it. And guess what? If you hate or like, you're always talking about who?
It's almost like Dusty.
That's it.
Fair point. But you know what I want to... You said, oh God, the polka dots. Can't believe they're coming out with the ultimate of that. But you know what you want to know what I want to see Jericho, since he's part of ECW? Let's just put him in another death match and have a pizza cutter during a Pizza Hut commercial. How about that? Let's just do that again. You couldn't ask for better television than that.
Aaron, here's the thing with Triple H. He could have had another title reign. But seeing as we're talking about ECW, let's just dive into that a little bit. He could have had another title reign. But the man could have been freaking bothered to wrestle Tuesdays.
We also watched ECW One Night Stand.
Listen, ECW One Night Stand 2005.
Hey, is that
in the original. Do what?
Is that how many times Connor can stand?
Oh, good night, Irene. All right. Quit picking on poor Connor here.
I mean, I may fall to the ground. Right? I may fall to my knees occasionally. But you go down on your knees for a paycheck.
All right. All right.
At least I get paid to go to my knees.
Whoa, hang on.
You wake up in the morning, it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna fall. So before I forget, Joe, we're back to Jericho and his undisputed reign.
Oh my God.
Who ended Triple H?
I'm sorry, Professor. It was Hogan.
All right. Now, Professor, who's the crappiest undisputed WWE champion again?
Roman Reigns.
Jericho.
So you're going to tell me that Jericho's reign is crappier than Hogan's?
And I'm going to tell you why. And if you can make me change my mind on this, I would love to hear it. Jericho's reign lasted too long. At least Hogan only lasted 30 days.
That's what she said.
Jericho's lasted till WrestleMania. Who did you want him to drop it to that would have been a decent story going into that WrestleMania?
Rock, Austin.
You mean the guys that were in the NWO storyline? the guys that you weren't sure if they could still go, guys that you didn't already have a long-term story to tell with Triple H? I'm
Okay.
just saying,
So
Jericho made sense from a storyline point of view.
no,
He
I
was
don't
someone that was
argue that's not the argument. The argument is who's the worst. And I just told you Jericho because Jericho had it longer than Hogan, and WWE did nothing with Jericho the time from that time. Now you tell me some memorable crap that Jericho did with the title.
Do
Watch
you want to
Stephanie's
know
dogs.
what that 3-month reign did for Jericho? That 3-month reign is what made Chris Jericho a main event superstar. That tournament to crown the first undisputed champion made Chris Jericho a superstar. He was able to proclaim that he beat Austin and Rock in the same night.
And did I argue any of that fact? No. I said no, my question to you is name something that Jericho did during that reign that made it relatable, better than Hogan.
Name anything Hogan did in his at all.
He won it when everybody wanted it. Listen. Hogan won it. Hogan dropped it quickly. And guess what happened to Hogan then? He went away. Now, Jericho, the only thing Jericho did in his reign was become, I'm sorry, Joe, for saying this, but he came the bitch of Stephanie McMahon.
He didn't become the bitch. He was already playing that role because Triple H had to make sure and get his nepotism wife in the main event with him.
Okay, so with all that being said, all that being said, what did Jericho do in his reign that was memorable? Guys,
shake your head, Joe.
If y'all can step in and help him, I'd be glad. But
he looks like one of the idiots out of the This Is England TV show.
I'm sorry, Professor. I was talking to Joe the other day, and he had a full head of hair, so my mind is blown right now.
So the reason I shaved my head, I wasn't going to reveal this till tomorrow, but I had a fan approach me. She was on here earlier that her cancer came back. So to help support her in her fight, just like I did with my sister and another one of my friends, I shaved my head for it.
That just goes to show what type of man you are, and it's no surprise to any of us.
Listen, with all bull crap aside, I mean, I think the biggest fight ever is cancer. You all know, Aaron, you definitely know. You've known me since I was a kid. Yep. I know it too. You know, my grandfather, I don't know if you got to meet him or not. He knows he suffered for 20 plus years with cancer. He went to a guy my size till someone like, I'll use Connor as an example because he's the only skinny mini in here, I think. Went to someone like Connor's size within 20-year span. He fought with it, and I believe that right there is a true fighter. No matter how many matches you have, whether it's UFC, wrestling, or boxing, that right there is the toughest fight you ever want to get into. Hence why the family name is the Fighting Monroes, because of that man right there. And anybody that goes through that, if she approached me about it, she didn't have to. And it's gonna make me start crying. But she didn't have to do that. And I just wanted to show my appreciation of coming to me. She didn't have to. She just loves enjoying the show and watches the TCW and UCW shows. But I did this for her. If she's watching, you know, I just want you to know that you have my 100% support in this fight. I didn't want to do this on the show, but since apparently the glare off the top of my dome here probably blinded Aaron.
My bad. I'm kind of a jerk like that. You know, I make things up pretty.
But that's why I went ahead and did what I did. I shaved it here at the house. I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 shows. You can if you grow 10 inches of hair, you can donate it for wig patients, Locks of Love, and other organizations. I didn't think about that till I started shaving it. I was like, well, crap, it's long enough now because that's the longest I've ever had my hair in a long time. I could have done that.
You should have a full head of hair, so it kind of is surprising.
Yeah, I did have a full head of hair. That's the first time I had it. I usually kept it shaved for wrestling. But yeah, I did that for her. So if anybody asks tomorrow, I'm not asking. I don't like publicly speaking about it. I'm a nobody. I'm just showing support to a fan who shows support back to me, and I'll support anybody that's going through cancer, whether if I hate you or love you. I'll support you through it because, as I stated, cancer is the biggest fight you can ever have in your life.
Well, let me correct you on something real quick, Joe. You're not a nobody. You're Joe Monroe. People look up to you. They see what you're doing. They love your content. And this goes for everybody in this, that we have to understand what we bring to the sport of wrestling. A lot of us can't wrestle, couldn't wrestle or anything, but we get to bring something, and to be able to give back and be meaningful for it, that you can not ask for anything else. So personally, for me, don't you ever let me hear you call yourself a nobody, because you damn sure are not. And a lot of people support you, love you, and I think I can speak for everybody that we appreciate what you've done for giving that support. That shows what type of man you are. So I appreciate you for it.
No, don't. And I don't want thanks for it. I don't like recognition. I never have been. You can ask James because he tries to give me recognition even for the shows. No, I don't want recognition for it. I'm not full myself. I don't. Listen. Even when I was wrestling, somebody asked me about titles one time. I don't want the recognition of a title. For me personally, whether if it's doing this or wrestling, my job is to entertain people. And if I can entertain people for those 5 to 10 minutes or 2 hours or an hour when I'm just here BSing with you guys, I have done my job because I have made somebody's day forget all the bull crap that's going on in the actual lifetime, and I made them forget and enjoy life for a little bit. That's worth it to me more than any title, even the NWA World's Heavyweight title that I hold as the most prestigious title in professional wrestling. That means more to me than that title will ever be.
And that's why I say you're doing a disservice to yourself and your fans by saying you're a nobody. Where we're actually getting to make a difference in the sport we love. And then there's a lot of people out there that may have the knowledge like us, the love like us, but don't have the opportunity or don't feel like they can do this. So, man, it's not about you and you taking that love that people are giving. Is for you to give. You're giving love, let us give you love, and you can spread it around. That's basically it. We all do that with the fun, with the comedy, with the seriousness. Again, you never know what somebody's going through today, and listening to us made them like, you know what, tomorrow's gonna be all right. Not to bring it down and make everybody look like we about to cry on cue, but
as always, Professor, you got everything. You hit the nail right on the head there.
Joe, I need to say this. Tell me to shut the fuck up if you want, but I'm still going to say it. Right? You're a shithead. Right? You're a shithead. And you take the piss out of the British nation as a whole. Right?
Well, that's the Irish in me, but go on.
Right? And I could quite easily kick your ass in a wrestling ring. Whether you like it or you don't, you'll still respect it. But when all's said and done, jokes aside, I'm still going to shake your hand at the end of the match, buy you a beer, and say thanks for the opportunity.
All right, enough about that. But yeah, we that because I know a lot of people are going to be like, You shaved your head.
Jericho's view is still better than Hogan's.
Oh, good night, Irene. We're having a good moment. Then you come up. Jericho was still better than Hogan. You know what the hell?
Look, we don't need to have people mistaking us for Hulk Hogan in his Make-A-Wish era, okay? We're gonna keep cracking jokes.
There's a difference between that because I actually give a damn. I don't think he ever gave a damn. All right, there's a difference.
Yeah, that's why we're friends, and I'm not friends with Hogan. Look, let's face it, Hogan wouldn't like anybody in this room.
James, no, absolutely not. Oh man. But you know what? She's actually one of those people that wants me to, wrestle at another show, like our normal shows. And
James is a wrestler. Why don't you wrestle James?
I don't want to hurt him.
Wrestle me then instead. You can't make my legs any more worse.
I've got an idea. Let's take Connor's upper body physique and put it on your legs, and then you might be able to have the physique to wrestle James. And I've only seen like 2 pictures of James setting you.
So what if we have a 1.5 on 1 match? How about that?
There you go.
Sorry, Connor. Listen, all jokes aside, I know we pick on Connor, but he is doing great in wrestling and in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He is kicking a lot of butt.
I actually remembered what I do on the side as well. I'm shocked.
I can't say what you do on the side legally here. I know you get in trouble in the States and over there, so we'll just keep that to ourselves. So
you can find his OnlyFans at.
It's funny because it's true.
You hear his seen Scary Movie too.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Connor, do you also have some black light stains that you need to take care of?
No. We're still live, pal. Oh,
we're not on Netflix yet. Otherwise, I'd be rich.
What's the guideline
for you?
Hang on, Professor. What's the guidelines for the Wrestling Society Network?
Woo. Woo. Man, I'm telling you, when I sit there and have to be bleeping all.
Look, it's simple. When you see this face, you put up a TV-14 logo.
And when you see this face, you take a photograph.
You put up an X. No, wait, hold on. I think I can get you a screenshot of Connor to use for whenever he pops up.
Okay. What screenshot is it?
Right, during this all.
Oh.
Union Jack over it.
Don't forget the T-shirt that says "I'm only in it for the parking space."
Even my wife's kind of laughing at that one. That was pretty good.
Well, I guess me and Connor's gonna be tag team partners then.
You know what? Honestly, Professor, I can see you as a manager. I really think you got the. But with that being said, guys, we'll go around here. We'll go ahead. We're hitting on 2 hours. It's the longest episode I've had ever. I can't believe it's been 2 hours. But Professor, what do you guys got going on over at WSM?
We are just adding material, more content to our WSN page. Our app. We've added children. We got a lot of cartoons about wrestling. We've added a part called Traveling the Indies with a bunch of indie promotions, which we're getting up. We still updating our website. We're on it, doing different things, just trying to make the wrestling world a better place.
All right, James, what do you got going on? I know we got Monticello tomorrow, but what else you got going on?
I got Benton, Kentucky on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, I have no idea. I don't look at my schedule.
The day before my birthday. Come on, man.
Oh,
November 2nd.
that's 20 days before my birthday. So
Okay, so and you got bullpen. You got a major match coming up, bullpen pro wrestling.
yeah, November. Yeah, I got some time.
All right, just
the headbutt the nipple.
Oh, good night, Irene. Why you act like Matt Hardy right now? All right, just 10.
And then put the Arkansas nose pull on him.
Good night,
James. Please do it like the Spike Dudley headbutt. I beg.
Okay.
The ones in the SmackDown versus Raw video games, just do it like that.
Oh,
all right, I'll see what I can do. Hell, I might do it tomorrow night. I don't know.
Oh wait, friends of the squared circles and Crander Q can't make it, but you bring in another beard. WTF? Well, I mean, he's got a better beard than you, Crander. Jack Swagger was the best ECW champ. Get the heck out of here. All right, just 10, the best beard in the showbiz. What's going on?
Stay tuned. Teal 5 Wrestling's coming soon. In the meantime, we're going to be making some appearances on your show, Joe, which we appreciate very much. And just stay tuned. That's all I can say.
Not a problem at all. And folks, if you commented here, don't forget giveaway. Aaron, you don't count. So if you commented, you'll get that right there. Double signed Tony Mama Luke and Nunzio autograph. Or Little Guido, as we know him from ECW.
I'll sign the outside.
No.
Bring me a pink one, and I'll sign the top loader. That's the word I'm looking for.
No.
Go, and it'll be worth just as much.
No, and no. Connor Clarkson, what do you got going on over there at Mayhem? You guys are killing it over there. What's going on?
So we've got a couple of announcements. The most upcoming announcement is that tomorrow night we have episode 3 of Into the Barricade. I think we've just agreed the time. It's 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, or I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually going live at 2 o'clock on a Sunday morning. And then, so in the next 1.5, 2 weeks, we've got the official soft launch of the Mayhem website. And then we've got some, hang on. Yep, covered that. Oh, yeah, and speaking of covering things, we're actually releasing some content for the Olympics coverage.
Yeah, that is coming up. That is right. Y'all were doing that. All right. Oh God. Okay, I hate to ask this question. ATV, what do you got going on?
Tanner covered it. Till 5's coming. Till then, we're gonna be here helping your little Irish man get more views. We'll break more records for you. It's okay. What I'm here for.
You know, I can tell you a little story about that man, but I will be nice, because he is him. I will say. But with that being said, folks, what?
One last thing. Have you ever thought of just being a giant hornswoggle?
So that make him like a Monroe swoggle? Monroe?
Hey,
Joe Monroe. We've got it now.
Hey, Connor, ATV. Guess what? Bye. Thank you. Okay. So that's what happens when you mess with me in my own studio. Folks, we were happy that a lot of people tuned in. This was a new record. So thank you everyone for tuning in live. I will see you all back tomorrow night. Let's see. You all need to bring the show to Arlington, Texas. What's that mean? What does that mean? Rusty, can you elaborate on that?
What's the pay?
What's the pay? and is airfare included? Anyways, but with that being said, folks, I'm Joe Monroe. This has been another great episode of the No Cell Roundtable. Join me next week. What are we talking about next week, Justin? I told you already. We're going to be talking about Rob Van Dam next
Rob
week.
Van
Is that
Dam.
right? We're going
Yep,
to talk about
I believe
RVD.
so. Yep.
So Connor may have to do another 420 before he comes on if he wants to come back on, and then we'll go from there. Professor Bear, if you ain't got anything going on, you're always more than welcome. James, same with you. I guess ATB can come back on anytime too. I don't know, but anyways, folks, thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see you all next week. With that being said, Dave, go ahead and roll us out, buddy. Dave. Okay, Dave's not here, man. All right, so I will go ahead and outro this. You all stay safe and see you all tomorrow night.
You've been listening to the Joe Monroe Show with Joe Monroe.